morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Katherine Economou, and it's my joy to welcome you here to the Center for Spiritual Living and our celebration service on Sunday. Happy Sunday. I'm so glad to be with you. I am joined by our Artistic Director, John Foltz.
Hello.
Good morning. And we have our Practitioner of the Day, Ann Woodward. She's off camera, but I promise she's here. And we have come together to create a service to celebrate this day, to remember the truth of this moment. And we are so grateful that you've decided to join us this morning. And so with that, I think we'll get started.
We shall.
Okay.
In the silence there is peace. In the silence there is unspoken joy. In the silence there's release. From a world filled with chaos and noise, I awake these precious moments when I hear all that could never be said, and right here in this holy silence I find God, I find myself.
Ask you to breathe in this moment, knowing that peace, the love, the joy is the attribute of God. And God is present right here and right now. It is a creative force behind everything. And at this very moment, this moment has been created in that joy and in that love. So I know for this day that each of us, each of our beloveds, express that love. I know that expression comes directly from that divine presence that is coming up from within and meeting spirit. And I know that for myself, and I know that for all. I know that for our community and for this center. And I know that in today's talk, all is absolutely perfect, and that each person receives exactly the message that they will respond to, that will give them joy and create a wonderful week ahead. But knowing that presence is God, right here and right now. And so it is.
Thank you, Ann. It's always so great to have you with us. We're so glad to have you. Thank you, John. That was beautiful. And again, I want to say good morning. I'm back. I was off for a week, and I want to say thank you to everyone who stepped in to support service last week. Charlene Kusner, our ministerial intern who hosted, and the friend of our center, Reverend Tracy Earlywine, who, she's such a wise soul. She calls me her teacher, but she's my teacher. So often I feel like I've learned so much from her. And I was actually home outside watching service as I was planting my spring garden. And it felt so great to be looking forward to new growth, new expansion, and still being connected. So it was fun to be on the chat with everybody last week. And I felt, I of course wanted to be here. I love my time off, but I also at the same time still want to be here. but it was really speaking to me about what's coming forward in spring. Things are lightening, things are expanding, more people are being vaccinated. It seems like the numbers are getting in a range that is better than it has been with the pandemic. And so I was so excited. I was just so excited for what's coming forward. So I am hoping that you're feeling the same way and having some inspiration and some hope here as we move forward. And what I also realized was that this is a true connection, that we really do have the opportunity to still connect, even though we are not meeting in person regularly as of yet. But how fun it is to see everybody pop on in the morning and say hello and to greet each other and to chat in the middle of the talk. It's just kind of fun to do, but you know, it happens. And still to have that feeling of connection, because that's the goal of CSL-TV. Our goal is to be a space of connection and communion with one another and with the infinite spirit. And we want to create a safe haven for each of us to do our own work, to let go of the sense of limitation that we hold for ourselves and for our lives, and to step into the fullness of who we've come here to be. And so whether you're joining us for the first time this morning, whether you just kind of clicked on something you saw on Facebook, or whether you've been with us for years, I want to send a virtual embrace to you, a hug to you today, and just remind you that we are here for you, that this spiritual community has not succumbed to this pandemic. We have not done anything but continue to create a space and lean in to share our love, because that's the truth of this community. And whenever we're together, you feel it, and even when we're together online, you feel it. So go ahead and say hello in the chat this morning. Let us know you're here and what you think about what's going on, and we can continue to build those relationships that way. And so with that, I think we can do our congregational song. You got a chant for us?
Let's do a little ditty.
Okay,
haven't
great.
done this one in forever.
Okay, yeah.
I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. I got up this morning singing, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. Feeling good down in my soul, God is so good. My God is so good to me. In my meditation, God is so good. In my meditation, God is so good. In my meditation, God is so good. My God is so good to me. When my day is over, God is so good. When my day is over, God is so good. When my day is over, God is so good. My God is so good to me. Every day, every way, God is so good. Every day, and every way, God is so good. Every day, in every way, God is so good. My God is so, my God is so, my God is so good to me.
Wow, well there you go. No roof on our place today, John. That's amazing.
That was
Thank
fun.
you. That was fun. Oh, I can't wait till we're all together and
I
able to
know,
sing
right?
like that again, and we're gonna rock it together. So, all right. Well, with that, I'm gonna move us into our moment of gratitude here. So I just feeling the energy of that song, of that joy. I want us to move into a place of just breathing into our hearts. Let us just pause and remember that no matter what's going on, there is still joy for us. There is always joy. There is always love, because there is always God, right where we are. And so in this moment, I want you to breathe into your heart space that joy, that excitement, and let it just expand and carry you into this present moment. how grateful we are for the opportunity to remember this truth, to allow for that joy to live in our hearts and to express through song, through sharing of our love, through just being fully alive in this moment. And so it's in that gratitude that we bless this day and simply move forward in that light and in that love. And so when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come on back. Again, I'm going to remind you that that's a simple little practice we do for 30 seconds, a minute maybe, and how powerful it can be to change the situation that you're in. If you get into a moment, have you ever had one of those moments, let's talk to John today, have you ever had one of those moments when you're just in a cranky mood? I know I have.
You know the answer to that question.
Well, I'm not just putting you on the spot, I'm putting myself on the spot, because that happens, right? We just kind of wake up on the wrong side of the bed, or something happens, or we hear about something going on in the world, and it just we crash, right? It's just like, it changes the way you see things and how you relate to everybody. But if we can take just 30 seconds to breathe into our hearts and remember what we're grateful for, to remember the fullness of life, it shifts it. It changes our experience, and it brightens, it widens our view, and it opens our hearts, and it reminds us that there's good for us even in the midst of a challenge. And so I encourage you to practice these moments of gratitude in your day and in your week, and allow that to bring forward the experience you're wanting to have, because it's right there for you already. And so again, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for your participation. I want to say thank you for being with us today. And I want to say thank you to everyone who continues to source and support this endeavor, this ministry, with your financial gifts. As we move into our time of offering and of giving, I want to remind us that the spiritual practice of giving aligns us with that divine flow of the universe, the divine flow of life itself. And as we give to that which we believe in, if we give to that place that inspires us, that supports us, that reminds us of who we truly are, it's truly a spiritual practice that opens that divine flow of giving and receiving. And so I want to say thank you to everyone who continues to send in their offering and their tithes through either the donate button on our website, or the calling Diane in the office, or even by sending it in through snail mail. We are so grateful that we have been able to sustain and maintain our services and our ability to share this message with you. And as we do this, as we all join together, we create that next evolution of growth for the spiritual community. We are in process of talking about how we can reopen slowly, safely. And it's going to take a little bit of extra work, some more support for sanitizing and cleaning. We need an upgrade in some of our technology in order to be able to be present and live at the same time. And so we're only going to be able to do this when we do this together. And so I encourage you to move into your heart space and to give from that place of gratitude for what you've received, and gratitude for what the life you want to build for yourself and what you want to see in the world. And so let's come together in consciousness here just for a moment and bless this offering, knowing that each of us moves into our heart space and opens to that divine, abundant flow of life. And I know that as we give our gift, as we make our offering, I know it is done in that essence and that energy of love and of light. And this offering goes forth to deepen the path and expand the expression of this ministry that is this God-ordained endeavor. CSL TV is a gift of God unto the community. And I would say the world now, that it's not just Temecula, it's not just the Temecula Valley, it's not just Southern California, but as we move out into the world, we allow this message to expand as light, calling forth to all those who can be served by this message. And each and every one of us participates in that with our gift. And so I bless it, I give thanks for it, and with a grateful heart we allow it to be, and so it is. And so let's together say our affirmation of abundance. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now.
Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say, Amen. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say, Amen. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say, Amen.
Our spiritual reading for today comes from the book for this year, The 365 Days of Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. Life moves me into every increasing good today. The universe is pushing us forward. It does this because it must. There is no regression in God. Mind is forever evolving new ideas, and these ideas are forever urging us on to greater good. To the alert, God speaks. Mind reveals its ideas, and good appears everywhere. The law of life is the law of growth, expansion, and increase. We must accept this, for it has been given us freely, and all that it asks is that we follow its instructions. As we look ahead and behold the ideas of God unfolding within us and projecting themselves in form through us, we see our increased good. I move forward in this divine design of life and find future pregnant with good. The Christ mind is within me, and I follow its urges toward a richer and fuller life. I see ahead on my pathway with faith, vision, and love. The life of the Spirit within me compels me to move from the past, do my best in the present, and envision good in the future. I know evil can stop me. No wrong thinking can hold me back, for I know that His plan for me is undefeatable. I give thanks that life moves me forward into greater good today.
Of course, thank you, Anne. And so this month we've been honoring and celebrating Black History Month. And I want to thank our practitioner Don Taylor, our congregant Marty Goldman, and our special guests today also, Pat Clark, who have shared either readings or music this month that have really touched and shared the energy and what it is to celebrate this amazing month of Black history. So we are blessed to have Pat Clark with us again today. She is so magnificent and amazing, and she, the thing I love about Pat is that when I first got here, I didn't really realize that she was a singer. She was very quiet about it. And it wasn't for a couple of years, actually, that she actually mentioned to me that she could sing a little. And I was like, what does that mean you can sing a little? And then when I first heard her, I was in awe of the gift that she has. And so we are so blessed that she's been able to share that gift with us a number of times over the last couple of years, and this month in particular. And so I would love for you to join me in welcoming Pat Clark back to share another song for the celebration of Black History Month.
Good morning, CSL family, and I am so happy to be sharing with you again this morning. The song that I selected is We Shall Overcome. The melody for this song dates back before the Civil War and is derived from a song called No More Auction Block for Me. In 1946, We Shall Overcome was sung by a group of striking workers in Charleston, South Carolina, who were embroiled in a months-long strike for a fair wage at the tobacco processing factory where they worked. A year later, Pete Seeger adapted this song for use in his shows. And in 1960, Guy Garwin added We Shall Overcome to the civil rights activists in the Carolinas during a student nonviolent coordinating committee meeting. Garwin's performance is largely considered to be the moment when We Shall Overcome became the anthem of the civil rights movement. It was in 1963 when the song was recorded by Joan Baez, and that's when We Shall Overcome became even more recognized as the anthem, the major anthem of this American civil rights movement. As we come to the close of our Black History Month 2021, I thought it would be appropriate to sing this anthem, which recalls so many historical struggles. Today, America still struggles for racial justice and equal treatment for all. We still have a lot of work to do, and I invite you to sing with me as we affirm that we shall and we can overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. One day.
We can live in peace. We can live in peace. We can live in peace today. Deep in my heart, I do believe we can live in peace today. We can overcome. We can overcome. We can overcome today. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. We can overcome. We can overcome today. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Pat, that was amazing. We're all trying to dry our eyes here. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much for your gift. Okay, let's take a breath before we start today. So this week we're coming to a close for our theme for the month, One Journey, Many Paths, in which we've been exploring how we are each on our own journey. We may be headed in the same direction on the spiritual path. We may be headed towards oneness, towards a greater awakening, towards love. But each of us takes a different pathway towards that. We experience different twists and turns, and we go at different rates. Some rush towards it, and some meander along that path there. But the spiritual path is still moving in that one direction. So we've been sharing spiritual practices this month that support us no matter where we are on that journey. And no matter what the experience or the challenges that we're faced with, these concepts of mindfulness, of opening, of being present, will support you in remembering in the midst of a challenge the truth of your being and that you're really supported. So today, my talk is spiraling up. And I'm excited to share with you just how being conscious of the path and bringing some of our own presence to it can support us in stepping forward toward what it is that we're trying to realize or create in our lives. But first, I found a little funny to share about spirals. Actually, I found two of them, so I'll do both of them. All right. So the first one is this. Why did the golfer's shots always fly in a spiral pattern? He was using a screwdriver. Okay, good.
You're right.
That
was a little funny.
Yeah, that was a little funny. I said a little funny. This one may be harder to reach, but my science geeks will get this one, okay? So I tried to teach a class on how hard it is to make a Fibonacci sequence, but it spiraled way out of control. All right, so if you need me to explain that one, email me and I'll explain it to you. Okay. So, but we're talking about spirals today, and the spiral is such a complex and beautiful form, and it really links together concepts of mathematics, of physics, of biology, and spirituality. Spirals are everywhere. The most well-known spiral is in the galaxies. We see them in the galaxies, those massive collections of stars, like our own Milky Way, right? Billions of stars swirling around in a cosmic dance orchestrated by the laws of motion and gravity. Have you seen one of those photos of that beautiful image of the Milky Way? It just is, it's so inspiring and beautiful. And even on the small scale, electrons, right? Electron clouds tracing out complex orbits around atomic nuclei and moving molecules. These are tiny spirals in space and time. And we can see them all around us in nature. That beautiful nautilus shell. Or one of my favorites, a sunflower. A sunflower grows following the rules of the Fibonacci sequence, mapping out the golden ratio, that curious number from mathematics, and it creates multiple interlocking spirals, both spinning right and left. It's such a beautiful example of that. Basically, everything that moves and flows that's subject to the laws of gravity or friction or energy eventually finds its most efficient path. And what they're finding is that that most efficient path is not a straight line, it's a spiral. We have spirals in our bodies, from the ways that our muscle fibers wrap around one another and connect to our bones, to the ways our lungs actually take in and expel oxygen that keep us alive, to the way our heart pumps blood. And yes, even in our spiritual experience, the spiral is front and center, and that's what I'm speaking about today. But before I get to that, I want to remind you first of a little bit about life itself. Life is the creative expression of God. God is the creator of all things, including each and every one of us. And everything and everyone is part of the body of God. Everything we see and everything we know and everything we experience is part of that divine experience. So we're not the totality of God, but we're part of it. And we have access to the totality of the divine life. As we align ourselves to knowing that, we can begin to embody greater and greater aspects of the Spirit itself. Aspects of God including love and beauty and creativity and abundance and freedom and joy. The other thing about life, or God, you could use those interchangeably, is that that it is ever creating. I'm speaking, it's creating. God is always creating. It's always expanding. It's never stagnant. It's never stuck. And it never goes backwards. So we may feel like that's happening, but what I'm going to tell you today is that it isn't actually happening, even when you think that you're stagnant, even when you think that you're stuck, even when you think that you may be going backwards. There's no possible way to go backwards, because life and God are always going forward, are always evolving. And so Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, says this in The Science of Mind. The spiral of life is upward. Evolution carries us forward, not backward. Eternal and progressive expansion is its law, and there are no breaks in its continuity. Okay, so Ernest is saying what I'm saying is that life is ever moving forward. Life is ever revealing more of itself. It's ever evolving to higher and higher states of experience and awareness. We can know that about ourselves. It's the nature of life, it's the nature of God, and it's the nature of each and every one of us. Spirit is ever expanding and bringing more of itself into form and expression through all of life in each and every one of us. So that means that ideas and opportunities and potential is always coming into being through us. As we open to this truth, as we align ourselves with it, as we realize that that's happening, as we accept the divine life as our own, we align our lives with this divine evolution and welcome more joy, more abundance, more peace, more love into being for ourselves and for everybody around us. This is God in action. And as the walls of doubt and limitation that we hold fall away, and we connect with that deep union with the divine nature of our being, we allow life to outpicture as this rich, full, and fulfilling experience. So that's a great concept, right? Sounds really good, doesn't it? It sounds like it makes me excited and motivated and ready to get out there and just live my life fully. And then sometimes some things happen and it doesn't necessarily feel like that, does it? Sometimes it feels like challenges show up or situations change in our lives. It feels like we're moving down, straight down a highway, and then all of a sudden there's a roadblock and it stops us short. The idea here is that even when those things happen, even when life seems to take a turn that we weren't looking for or we weren't wanting, that life is truly still for us. Have you ever had the experience of going through something, facing a challenge maybe earlier on in your life, and you handle it, and you learn something from it, and you move on and say, okay, I got it, what's next? And then after a while, a similar situation comes back around again. It's like, wait, what? I've been there, done that. I'm not doing this again. And maybe it's a similar dynamic of conflict in a relationship or of learning to speak your truth, or maybe it's a financial challenge. Fill in the blank for yourself, whatever it's been. But it feels like you're back where you started. I thought I dealt with this. I thought I figured this stuff out. And then it can feel disappointing or disheartening. You can think, oh, that spiritual stuff that Reverend Katherine talks about on Sunday, that's hogwash. That's not working, because look, it came back again. And I understand that. I've been there. I've even said that about myself, that, just kidding. But what I want to remind us is that just because something that you think you handled comes back doesn't mean you haven't learned or you haven't grown or realized what you've been called to do. It doesn't mean that you're not on a spiritual path or the spiritual path doesn't work for you. It means that you have the choice to step up and step into your new awareness and move forward in a new way. So today what I'm talking about is I want us to look at the spiritual path not as a straight line, but as a spiral. The spiral is an age-old intuitive symbol of spiritual development. And our identity with the universe has been expressed through a spiral, and it's found in cultures across the world over. It's reflected in shamanism, in magic, in mysticism, and in ritual art and dance throughout history. So I want to work with an image today. I want you to think of your spiritual path, of your spiritual growth, as if you were climbing a spiral staircase. Do you remember what a spiral staircase looks like? They were really popular in the 70s. Right? Have you been in a house with a spiral staircase? And they go straight up, right? Around and around and around. And so in our spiritual development, it can feel like the same issue comes around and around, but it doesn't. It's not. You are different. You are different this time from when it first showed up in your life back whenever. And if you can see it and address it from a higher place, a higher perspective. Think about hitting an issue when you're on the bottom rung of that spiral staircase and you make 2 rounds up and you're hitting the same issue, but you're looking down at it from a higher perspective. You begin to relate to it differently. And it can resolve differently. So we have a choice when we're faced with challenges in our lives. We can either spiral up, we can go in circles, or we can spiral down. And you know what? It's up to you, what you do. And I believe it has to do with what we believe about God, what we believe about life, and what we believe our relationship to that is. So if you believe that life is against you, if you believe that you've got something to prove your worth, then when a challenge hits and you don't handle it the way you think you should, you feel like you've failed. You may think that you've made mistakes or you're not capable. Those ideas will come to you when you feel like you have something to prove to life. What happens is you start to spiral down. You spiral down into more of a place of limitation. We hold judgments against ourselves, And what happens when we do that is our vision narrows. Our sense of ourselves and our own power lessens. And then what happens? Well, life responds to you and proves you right. Because, again, I want to remind you that the universe responds to your belief. Life responds to your belief. And it loves you so much that it only says yes. It responds to you in that way at the level of your belief. So if you believe that life is against you and you believe that you're limited, you know what the universe is going to say is, here you go. It's going to give you experiences that support that. But if you stand firm in your knowing that, life is for me, then the universe responds that way and sends you all sorts of images and experiences and opportunities that you can see around you. So if you get stuck in the idea that I'm a failure and that I failed, when your challenges hit, you're going to spiral down into a deeper place of limitation. And as you can see, that is just perpetuated. Something needs to click us out of that belief to be able to step forward in a new way. Now, if you hold yourself and your life in a small space, just getting by. I don't want to make any waves. I just want to, do my life, live my life, not really wanting for too much, not asking too much. I'm not going to overstep, thinking that this is just how it goes, right? It's good as it gets, and I need to get used to that. I call this the Eeyore syndrome. It's just the way it is. I guess I got to deal with it, right? If you're going to do that, then you're going to go in circles. And the same issues are going to come around and around and around again with no clarity, no evolution. It's like a merry-go-round, going around and around, moving in circles and not getting anywhere. And that's not going to serve you either, because there's no opportunity to see beyond the life that you're living, of what's possible for you. But when you begin to realize, even just beginning to realize, that everything that happens in this life is for you, for your good, for your growth and your expansion. It may not feel comfortable and it may not look pretty, but when those experiences hit, you can stand firm in knowing that life and God is there for you, that you are a divine expression, you are a divine part of God's life. Then you can pause and allow the experience to take you where you need to go, bringing forth the movement forward that your soul's craving. You spiral up. I'm encouraging us to begin to realize that we can spiral up when those challenges hit. Have you ever heard anyone say that the challenge that they faced, right, that big challenge that they faced, ended up being the best thing that's ever happened to them? I have. I've heard it in situations that range from a lover or a spouse leaving them, to losing a job they've had for 30 years, to someone having cancer. Sometimes life looks scary, and it can feel really uncomfortable. But when we truly realize that we are supported, we can allow the blessing to show up big time in our experience. We can allow life to take us along that journey to be the fullest expression that we have intended to be. So when one of those moments come back around to visit us, when one of those issues show up again, when some of our more stubborn patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior rear their ugly heads, we need to practice the pause. And that's the spiritual practice for today, is practicing the pause. And remember that we have actually climbed the staircase since it first showed up. We are not the same person. We are not in the same situation. And when that experience comes back around again, we stand and open to the wisdom that we have already accumulated, that guidance that's there for us, and look for the next phase of unfoldment. We keep climbing that staircase in the spiral form. So I want us to embrace the spiral as a model for growth. And so let's take an example. A lot of people have, that I've worked with, have a fear of speaking their own truth. right? So let's take that emotional challenge as an example today. For someone dealing with this issue, the way that they met that fear of speaking their own truth as a child may have been very different as they as they met it as a young adult and then as a mature adult, even still in a different way. So you may be facing the same root pattern of fear of speaking your truth, but when we look at it, you can notice and see how it's been met at both higher and higher levels within a broader context than what the experience in the moment might share with you, right? So it may feel the same. You may have experienced fear of speaking your truth as a child and as a young adult and as a more mature adult. That's what we're calling ourselves these days, mature adults. I guess I should call myself a mature adult. I don't know if I could really own that, but okay, I'm a mature adult. So as I've... Immature adult? I don't know.
We'll just leave that where it is.
We'll leave that where it is. Okay, so I may be experiencing the same kind of fear as a immature adult as I did as a child. That feeling might be the same, but it's not the same experience. I have a different ability to understand it. The child may be experiencing fear and not have any idea of where it's coming from. Then the young adult, when it comes back around again, may have a little bit of an awareness of why the situation is happening or the context of what's causing that fear. And then hopefully, blessing it, as we move into a greater sense of maturity, we are able to stand and look at the experience that we've had and realize that fear is operating within us and it has nothing to do with what's going on outside. That is an example of the spiral up to a greater understanding. Every time we meet that experience coming around and around, we meet it with a greater awareness, a deeper knowing of who we are. And we can face it and experience it from a different perspective. And so no matter whether it's a financial challenge or if it's a relationship issue or a conflict or even a fear that's alive within us, there are so often times when we get triggered on something and we think it holds us back, it limits us. We start to move down that spiral down, right? But what I'm saying for us is that if we can practice that pause and remember who we are, remember where we've come from, we can allow a greater wisdom to speak to us. We can see with a clearer eye that it's not just it's not just this limited situation. That there's something greater revealing itself to us and bringing us to a more connected or expressed place of being. Again, it comes back to believing that life is there for you. And so we don't grow in a straight pattern. Sometimes I think that it looks like a big knotted mess of a path. But now I'm clear that we spiral upward and we grow and wind around so that we can really embody what we're learning, what we're experiencing, what we're understanding about life and about God. We integrate it into our being so that when it comes around again and we're faced once again with that fear of speaking our truth, we can stand in knowing everybody's got the fear of speaking their truth. I am coming from a place of integrity and love, and we can move through that fear a little bit easier. And so that's the spiral as spiritual development. Again, I want to remind you this. Ernest Holmes says, we should never lose sight of the fact that the soul is on a pathway of an endless and ever-expanding experience, and that only by expansion can it evolve. Accepting the lessons and experiences of the past and taking the best from everything, we should press boldly forward, looking ever for the truth and ever ascending higher and higher into the heavens of reality. Again, heaven is here and now, and it's available to us if we can let go of the limitations that we've held onto from the past. And so as we walk this spiritual path, as we experience these these experiences, these challenges, these opportunities for growth over and over again, let us not let them move us into a place of more limitation, but allow the wisdom that wants to be revealed in them move us to a place of more expansion and freedom. So this week, this is what I'm going to suggest for you. Can you give yourself a break? Can you be a little bit more gentle with yourself? And know that you're supported by life itself and open to its gifts and its blessings and its wisdom. And know that as you continue, like all of life, to spiral up and out into a greater experience and expression of all good. Because you know what? That's who you are. You are God expressing in such glorious ways. And so I'll know that for you this week. I hope that you'll know that for me, and together we can spiral into the greatness and joy of life. And so it is. Yay! And so, spiraling up to the stage now, I'm going to invite John Foltz. Yeah, there you go. Spiral.
Great talk.
Thank you.
Right towards the end there reminded me of a little visual thing I saw online. It was a little chart said what I thought my growth would look like.
Yeah.
What it actually looked like. Boy, it feels like that sometimes.
It does.
Yeah. Anyway, great.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me who I am, because I need to know. Oh,
little Lauren Daigle.
Little Lauren
For you all there.
Daigle. Perfect, thank you. So I have some reminders of what's coming up here at the center. Just want to remind you of our ongoing events, our book studies up and running on Wednesday mornings. And you can contact our practitioner, Pam Migliosi, for that. Our men's ministry, I think, are tiptoeing back into going out to breakfast again. So you want to contact Reverend Michael Summers about that. And the Sisters in Spirit group is meeting on the first and third Thursdays of the month with Pam Migliosi. I don't think they're quite ready to go back to the restaurant, but they're getting there. Our Spiritual Connection at 7 series is continuing, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Let me tell you, what a great way to just pop in, 20 minutes of meditation. You get a little bit of connection with our community. You can put in a prayer request with one of our practitioners, and it goes out to the whole team. And it's such a great way to stay connected and do your spiritual practice together. One of the things that we were talking about this week is that, I don't know about you, but it's easier to meditate in a group. It's just easier to do it. It's everybody can sit down and meditate on their own and do their spiritual practice or contemplation or their meditation. But there's something about when you step into a group to do it, that consciousness allows you to go deeper. And we were chatting about the fact that even on Zoom, you can still feel the energy of the group and you go deeper. And so if that's something you're wanting to create in your life, a spiritual practice on a regular basis, join us. For those who are early risers, me not being one of them, 7 a.m. is a great time to jump on. By 7:30, you're complete. And then come on into the evening session at 7 p.m. for those of us who are not early risers. And we join together and do 20 minutes of meditation also. Now on Wednesdays, we do a check-in. We've been doing a check-in. We've run some little mini workshops and processes on Wednesday nights. It's usually with me. And we're starting something new, and it starts this coming Wednesday. We haven't come up with a name for it yet, but we're doing spiritual questions and answers. And so if there's something that you've been wondering about, if there's something going on in your life that you're wondering how all this stuff that we talk about, all these spiritual principles work in your world, come on and have a conversation with me. I love talking about it. I love answering people's questions. And so we're going to get together, and it's the first Wednesday of each month we'll do this. And this Wednesday is the first one. So come on and join us, and it's the same link for the Spiritual Connection at 7. Coming up on March 14th, we are having our annual meeting, and that's going to be on Zoom. And we're doing a board election also. So our annual meeting is to talk about the previous year, to talk about how we managed to get through everything we got through in the last year, and to talk about our intentions for this coming year. So if you're a member, and even if you're not a member, but you're interested in the life of this center, please plan to be there with us. We do have 2 positions open on the board. So if you are called to serve at that level, we are looking for people who can guide us in this new phase of reopening, of aligning our finances and our marketing in a new way. Please reach out to me and let me know. We've got another week before that's going to close. So just give me send me an email or give us a call at the center and let me know, and we can have a chat about it. I really appreciate that. Also, we have started our new prayer room on Zoom after service. And so as soon as we're done here, the Zoom room will be open, and we're going to put the link right there in the chat for you. It's the same link that we use for the Spiritual Connection at 7 for anybody who's in the know on that. And our practitioners are available for you and to do an in-person prayer. Now, one of the things that we loved, our practitioners used to be able to be present after service and sit with people and do prayers with them. And we haven't been able to do that for the last year, but this is a way that we can do this. So it's going to work if people show up. So if there's something going on in your world, if there's something that, even if it's a challenge, or even if it's something great you want more of that, we would be glad to pray with you about that and to know the truth for you. And so come on into the Zoom room. The host will put you into a private little breakout room with one of the practitioners for a prayer. And I'll tell you, it changes things. It makes you feel better. It opens your perspective. It allows you to realize that you're actually being supported and to be able to see differently what's happening in your world. So I can't say enough about prayer, and I really encourage you to join us after service, and it's open right as soon as service ends until noon. So, but with that, I think I should pray.
Yeah,
Let's
speaking
do
of
some
prayer.
prayer. Yeah, prayer works. Let's pray. And so resting in this moment and remembering that divine life. I know that this life that is God's expression, and each and every one of us is part of it, is filled with the infinite presence of love and of peace, of wholeness, of perfection, of joy, of freedom, of abundance. And I know Spirit moves and breathes itself into being as all things in, through, and as each and every one of us, for we are one in the Spirit, united at the core, connected to the fullness and the allness and the power and the presence of the one. And so I know that that one mind, that infinite wisdom, that knowledge, that knowing of the ages is available to each and every one of us, and it guides and inspires us as we align ourselves with that truth of our being, as we open to receive those messages, to allow Spirit to speak to us, through us, as us, and all around us. I know that heart of the divine is the heart that beats in the chest of each and every one of us. And that love that has created all things is that which has created each of us. And we are part of that fabric of life and of love. And so we are all completely loved. And I know we step forward in this week in that presence of love, in that wholeness, in that vibrance, in that truth of the light shining brightly, illuminating our path. And so for anyone who is feeling separate, for anyone who is feeling stuck in that cycle of going around and around and around and not getting anywhere, I know that the light of inspiration and illumination shines brightly right where they are, allowing us to spiral up to that new place of understanding, that new place of seeing and being the presence we've come here to be. And so we allow the past to be the past. It is done. It has brought us to this moment of power, this moment of knowing, this moment of truth. And we move forward, allowing that expansive nature of life, that evolution of wisdom and of truth and of love that is God in expression, to take us where we've come here to be and to move in the direction of our joy, of our presence, of the light and the love that is the truth of our nature. And so I bless it. I bless this moment and this week, knowing that we each take that step up in our spiral and allow for the light to shine brightly, to guide us, to inspire us, and to bring us comfort and peace in knowing we are one with God itself. And so I claim this for each of us. I celebrate it. I honor it, and giving great thanks, I simply surrender my word, knowing it is done. And so it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. Now I can say that if you are discouraged and struggling just to make it through another day, you got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release, said I let it go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only the God. No more struggle,
so it is. All right, have a happy Sunday, everybody. I just want to say thank you to everyone who made this service possible. I want to say thank you to you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the prayer room and again next week. Take care, everyone.